lots to talk about, but obviously we have to start at the Bernabeu. The knives were out after the defeat against Celta on Sunday night, and here comes another defeat. However, if you're looking in terms of performance, if you're looking are the players looking to get in the sack? Can you learn anything from this game? I think Xabi Alonso comes out, if not strengthened, and certainly not damaged by this performance. Let's not forget, a bunch of guys out, Kylian Mbappe on the bench, not fit. And at the same time, they had a lot of chances. This game could have been a draw. This game could have gone either way.
Absolutely,
it was far more open than the two control obsessives would have liked.
Very different defeat to the Celta one, where the lack of effort, the lack of everything really was so obvious for a game at Bernabeu. This one was different. They took the lead, and I think they'd be disappointed in the 2 goals they gave away, certainly, on a corner, and then the foul and the mistake by Rudiger. But overall, even with the ball, even in the intensity that they put and that kind of energy, Rodrigo, who just never starts for Real Madrid under Xabi Alonso, got a start and did well. We even saw Endrick, that we hardly seen all season.
Hit the crossbar.
Brahim Diaz played. Garcia, just because Kylian wasn't there, not great. But so I think in terms of response from the team and the players towards Xabi, I think there was a lot of positive.
Gonzalo Garcia, by the way, was the top goal scorer at the World Cup. So respect.
True. This is slightly better level than the World Cup.
You're looking at Alaves away, where they have a massive injury crisis because the 2 dopes got themselves suspended, of course, in Carreras and Fran Garcia. And then it's Sevilla at home, and then it's Christmas. So if we think in terms, there's not a long break, but there is a mini break in Spain. Is it just a question of getting through those games and then regrouping?
I mean, the pressure is still there, and very much so. Even if you could say the players played for him yesterday, this and that, it's just another defeat. Real Madrid have won 2 of the last 8 games in all competition. It's not enough. It's not good enough. It's not acceptable for a club like that.
Do you know when the last time was that they won 2 out of 8?
No.
It was a French manager who then resigned.
Yes. So I can.
That was Zinedine Zidane, by the way, in case you're
I can understand why the pressure is very much back on. Is there enough pressure to get rid of him now and bring him like Arbeloa for Alvaro Arbeloa? Arbeloa. I'm not sure because I don't see them losing either of those 2 games that you mentioned, Alaves and Sevilla. So probably the best thing is to go until Christmas and then just reassess the situation.
Alaves, with everybody out, anything can happen. That's the only proviso I can make. And I don't know
if you don't beat Alaves, even with those injuries, then okay.
I think you'd need to. I think you would need to lose one and maybe draw one, or have some sort of incident happen. A word on Manchester City, because we can't gloss over this. They're right up there. I don't think that they're anywhere near their potential. So you can look at it as a positive and say, aha, imagine once everything clicks, how good they're going to be. I mean, he made such a big deal before the game about the fact that Stones and Rodri were unavailable. And I'm like, bro, Rodri's been out forever. Stones plays 1 game in 3. I know he started all the Champions League game, I think, except for 1 until that point. But you can't tell me at this stage that Rodri and Stones are key players for you in what you want to do. There may be value added.
Make a massive difference.
They're value adds, but they're not. They can't. You can't say I need these guys in my team.
Oh no, I disagree. I think he does. Nico Gonzalez is nowhere near as good as maybe Stones is a little bit different, although I don't think there's a defender at City that is as good as him technically, apart from real defenders. I'm not talking about O'Reilly or Mateus Nunes. I think Rodri is pivotal, so key for them, but we never know if he's going to come back to what kind of fitness.
You had a long time to get used to him not being here, and you should be playing better without him because you've had a lot of time.
I like what Pep said after the game when he said he was happy and everything, obviously he was. But he said, if we play like this against a better team, like a PSG, and he mentioned PSG, it's not me. He said, this won't be enough. And he's right. This was far too open.
Yeah, I think it's hard to disagree with them. You might add Arsenal in that too, as teams that are better
Bayern,
than where Real Madrid are right now. Jules, you touched upon this before, the defensive errors that led to the 2 goals for for Manchester City, and I'm going to start with the second one. Antonio Rudiger on Erling Haaland. Now, we know Rudiger's a physical player and stuff like that. I'm fine that it went to VAR because I think you want to be sure when you get a penalty. And Turpin, I'm assuming, looked at it and said, okay, it looks like Rudiger's basically thrown the big man to the ground. However, maybe he was pulling his shirt or whatever. Let's let VAR do its thing.
Yeah.
We're okay with that. And Turpin went, look.
I don't think you can see it properly from where he's either. So, it's all good.
But I think he probably could, but he doesn't have a 360. If you look where he's positioned, he knows that there's a foul from Rudiger. But what he doesn't know, because if at the same time, when there's mutual shirt pulling or whatever, right? Is this just a case of Rudiger being another symptom of Real Madrid's issues at the back?
I think if you're a manager, I think if you're Xabi Alonso or somebody else at that level, it must be so frustrating and infuriated to have somebody like that. I know he's a very good defender on his day. I know he's got a lot of qualities. There's a moment in the first half where Cherki has the ball. It just comes back and just passes the ball in midfield. And then Rudiger, he's 3 seconds late and goes and just barges into Cherki for nothing. And you're thinking like, what are you doing? And this is exactly the same. And he loses Haaland clearly because then he's behind him and the cross is coming for O'Reilly and Haaland's going to head the ball. So he rugby tackles him. But I don't know. I mean, for me, if everybody was fit, I would not start him anyway. And I don't think Xabi would.
It's Militao and Heisen if everybody's fit.
He plays because of the injuries. But they cost him. He cost them the game.
All right, we have to be fair. And just because I certainly love Thibaut Courtois, I can't give him a pass. That's on him for the O'Reilly goal, yeah?
So Joha, who I was with, said that if you look at O'Reilly ducking in front of the ball, Courtois sees the ball really late on the header by Guardiola, and I think he can't. This is a ball that he catches every day. Like any goalkeeper I don't know, even in your 5th division, 6th division catches that ball. For Courtois not to do it, something happened clearly. And I think the fact that O'Reilly ducks in the eye line of Courtois probably surprises him. And then he fumbles it really, and it's an easy tap in.
Okay, but because this sounds to me like the excuse, well, he's so good and it's such an elementary mistake, something must have happened, right? Sometimes stuff happens, he made a mistake, not because he's a bad keeper, but because good keepers. But this ties back,
not there, I think he catches the ball.
But I think this ties back to what to what Pep said and what Xabi Alonso said about City need to be better and against a better team. Because even against this version of Real Madrid, with everybody out, your 2 goals were pretty fortuitous. And yes, you had a bunch of other chances, but then so did Real Madrid.
Jeremy, they have 8 shots on targets against Real Madrid on Wednesday night. Courtois made 6 saves and the 2 goals. That's a lot.
And they also gave up a lot because I think defensively.
But that's always the problem. We know that against Leeds is the problem. So if it's against Leeds the problem, it will be against Real Madrid.
So, but this is what I struggle with a little bit with Pep and trying to figure him out, right? So in terms of his arc, we've had so many different incarnations and versions of Pep over the years, right? So obviously, well, leaving aside the early stuff, when he comes in, the fullback stepping into midfield, possession, blah, blah, blah. Then he goes in the other direction, and all of a sudden, he basically plays 4 center backs at fullback, right? Yeah. When it was Walker and Guardiola at left back. Now, having spent a fortune on defenders, I might add, you're in a situation where it seems like you get caught in transition probably a lot more than you should.
Yeah, completely.
And more than you did before.
Yeah.
What's he trying to do? Is that the price you pay for maybe not having another 2-way central midfielder? Because obviously when Reinders starts, and I'm not saying Reinders is necessarily better or whatever, he's just different. Or in the past when you had, Rodri plus Kovacic, maybe you had people who were a little more alert, a little more predisposed to shutting down the transition than you do when it's Foden and Bernardo and Cherki in there, or this version of Bernardo at this age. Maybe your press isn't as good as it was. Maybe the front 3 aren't as good as at pressing. What is it?
Certainly on the right hand side, so the opposition left hand side, and it was the case against yesterday. And when the ball moves from left to right, in many games now they've struggled, like on the Rodrigo goal, for example. It was quite obvious to see in that first half, especially on Wednesday night. That overloaded midfield, I think, is a great idea. Pep Linders, the verticality, the energy. They run more than last season, a lot more than last season. I get that, but there's still issues out of possession, especially when they lose the ball. And I just don't think Nico is good enough to play like that. But then you have to play like that in the hope that when Rodri comes back, whenever that is, Rodri can be the final piece in that jigsaw, that what you want to do. Because otherwise it's too difficult. You can't have one way of playing when it's Nico and one way of playing when it's Rodri. But right now, it cost them every game, really. Okay, against Sunderland, they dominated and that overloaded midfield worked really well and no problem. But as we said, against Leeds, at this game again, they could have conceded 2 goals, maybe more. There are issues with Donnarumma and on set pieces and his awareness when into space and when he comes out, like on the cross from Rodrigo to Vini early on in the game too. So defensively, they've got issues. O'Reilly, we were mentioning off air, preparing for the show, is probably good with the ball. He was great attacking wise on Wednesday night, but defensively, he's just not good enough. He's not ready. He's a 10 that plays at left back. So Rodrigo ate him alive for breakfast.
Yeah, he also doesn't have the number. He also doesn't have just simply, you can put this very, maybe I'm oversimplifying, he does not have a fullback body type.
No, yeah.
He's big and lanky. You can tell this is a guy who's learning a new position, and it may be easier for a smaller holding midfielder or whatever, or even a winger to learn that position than it is for something like him. And I guess he's there because he steps into midfield and he's an extra passer.
Yeah, because he's so.
And he's got the long legs. He's also good going forward.
Yeah.
Because once he accelerates, he builds up speed, and he's difficult to contain. On the Real Madrid front, is it as simple as Occam's razor? Like the simplest explanation is sometimes the right one. This is a team that's built around superstar individuals. When you had Ancelotti, and maybe when you had Zidane as well, the message was simple. You guys go out and play. I'll keep you happy. Zidane with his charisma, Ancelotti with his touchy-feeliness. Now you've gone from that to a guy who doesn't see football that way, probably shouldn't see football that way, but sees it as like, I want to make the whole greater than the sum of the parts. He is a system guy, fundamentally. That is what got him the job. And he has all these players who aren't used to necessarily being system guys. And they don't seem to get what he wants them to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact as well that it seems that we've gone down, this team is going to be built around Arda Güler, and then he's on the bench for a game like this. Mastantuono on the right-hand side, and then we haven't seen him for, 2 months or so now.
He's fit again?
He's fit again. He was on the bench. There's a lot of things that he's trying to do, and I know the injuries are not helping, and the pressure that he's under is not helping, and the lack of result in the last month or so is not helping. I get that. But I think if we struggle to see the direction that this team is going and what he's trying to do, imagine if you're a player there. And it's the same. And to go back on the different kind of manager that he is, the Ancelottis and Zidanes, they are hardly no more managers like that in world football anyway. The more likely, and when we thought about, okay, who could come in, if the next one is going to be more likely like Xabi Alonso and that kind of coach, if you want, really, because that's what Xabi is, than a manager like Zidane and Ancelotti are.
Right? Can you explain this concept a little further for people? I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Not everybody out there gets what you're saying.
It's very simple. I put it in a very nice way. I interviewed Zinedine Zidane when he was coaching the team in his second spell, and he said this really, really fascinating thing on Modric. He said, I'm not going to tell Modric how to pass the ball or what to do with the ball. He's a Ballon d'Or winner. He knows exactly what to do with the ball. What I'm here for is just to make sure that he's in the perfect environment to thrive. That's what I do. And I do the same with every Real Madrid player. They are the best in the world. They know exactly what to do with the ball. Tactics is not a problem for them. They can play in different systems, in different contexts, everything. I'm not there to teach them how to play football. They know that better than me. I'm here to make sure that they're happy in the right environment and that everything around them is going to get the best out of them. And that's it. And this is the best way of putting it. And Carlo is the same. Xabi Alonso is, when the ball is there, I want you to do this, I want you to do that, I want that many touches, I want this movement, I want this. And it's a very different style.
Yeah, so I think you put it brilliantly there. I remember going to see Carlo when he was at Bayern, and Zidane had taken over, and he was doing really, really well with Real Madrid. And I was surprised that the great stone face sulk was getting such a rise out of his players. And Carlos says, you know what, like, I don't understand. I'm not surprised because he has a different approach, but he has the respect because he's been teammates with some of them at the time, and because of who he is. He doesn't talk much, but when he talks, all his words have a ton of weight, and they're all designed to, like you said, create the environment. On the tactical side, is it super sophisticated? He's like, there's only so many tactical systems out there. He knows about tactical systems. He's played under many different coaches, Zinedine Zidane. And he knows, most importantly, that executing a simpler tactical system well with better players, which he has, is going to be more effective than having a super sophisticated tactical players, which is generally designed to mask your weaknesses. At Real Madrid, there aren't that many individual weaknesses in players. So I thought that was a big one. So I think you're right. In some ways, it's the system that we create, right? So to get the Real Madrid job, you generally, in most cases, need to work your way up. And so you need to deal with bad players and show that you're, not bad players, but average players, and show that you can make them greater. And so you need to show that you have a system. But once you get to Real Madrid, you maybe can't implement that system. And I'll give you just a quick contrast just to wrap this. Barcelona also have a system coach, right? Very much so. Might they be a better player if he wasn't a system coach? Might they be a better team?
Better team, maybe.
Would that be more suited to this group of players? I mean, it's questions that are out there, but I love the fact that the talent of the individual, and big respect to what Zidane said about Modric, although I think if you looked closely when he said he's a better footballer than me, I imagine his nose got a little longer.
But at the
like
time,
Pinocchio.
It was,
Yeah, because Zidane is like 10 years older and retired.
Exactly.
But 13 years older, I think. But yeah, I think this fundamental thing is I almost feel like it takes something different to coach. And it's kind of the absurdity, right? Also because the biggest teams are also, the gap between them and everybody else is so much bigger than it ever was. They're over-resourced. So the coach necessarily, on the tactical side, becomes less important.